Welcome back viewers, this is Politics Today, hapa Science TV, hapa tunachapa siasa. We are on the youth. Young men and young women, how are you out there? 0111980384. We love you so much. That's why we have a show for you, young people. By the way, anyone is young. Anyone below 70 years, ama tunajidanganya. Even Mudavadi said amegonga tuka 60. You remember? What do you have to say about these age manenos? By the way, Christopher NZAU is our guest, agribusiness, a gentleman. I call him a jack of all trades. Worked in public sector, private sector, does your own agriculture work right now, doing a lot of public participation. That's why we are bringing you. By the way, our sign language interpreter, let's not forget him. He's working with us here now, Gideon Maina. By the way, shout out to Gideon Maina, our SLI. Come on, let's proceed. Tell me, what is your experience, by the way? What is your experience with this dispensation of young people? I mean, would you rather be a youth at this time? Yeah. One of them told me it's very difficult to be young in this time.
Jonah,
again, I can't hear you.
Jonah,
yes.
There have been challenges, different challenges have been there in different times. The challenges youth had when we were growing up may be different from the ones we are having now, but all the same, challenges have been there always. And to pick just a few, at our time, when we were young men and women in college and out of college, and trying to enter into gainful employment, and trying to understand social and political fabric of our community and our society, and trying to gather information to know how the society works. You must understand that Kenya has not always been a very free society all the years back.
What's your experience? Did you have a spy experience at some point or what?
Let me tell you, the youth of today have grown up when we've got a robust new constitution where there's a lot of social and political space, where you can express yourself freely in the media and freely in the social media, print media and all that, and where you can access information freely.
So during Jomo Kenyatta's time, and we respect our leader and Moi and all the rest, we could not be here talking so freely.
When Jomo Kenyatta time, I was relatively young. I was in secondary school.
Right.
When Jomo Kenyatta left us, then came the era of Toroitich, Daniel Arap Moi. That time, went to college and started working under the Moi's administration, under the one party Kanu system. Tingiza. Talking of Tingiza, I remember an occasion where I was a departmental head in a district, and we were having a national day, and I think it was Jamhuri Day.
Yes. And
multipartyism had come in, but the hangover was still there. The one party hangover was still there.
Yes.
And then the district Kanu chairman stood to speak, and then he started saying, Tingiza, 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 tuoneshe kidole moja, Tingiza. So you know that was the Kanu sign.
Yes.
But you know now parties had become, other parties were there.
This.
Yes. We had Ford, we had DP.
2 fingers, yes.
And then he looked around the dais where we were seated as government officers, and he saw some of us had not raised the 1 finger salute. Then he was at a loss. Why are you not raising the 1 finger salute? Who pays your salary? So we had to sit there with our faces down, because here we are. We cannot express our politics so freely, and we cannot also show openly that we are supporting a party. So those are the challenges that were there.
Right. I'm told during that time you could be seated at a restaurant or a nightclub or a bar, and the person you're chatting with is actually, what are they called? Informal what?
They were people of the then special branch, which is the intelligence.
Was that curtailing? Was they overdoing it?
You see, some of it was comic. Like one time,
yes,
we were officers and we were in these remote areas.
Yes.
And it was a Friday evening, and we had nowhere to go. We had to go to a government-run club, because there were no other clubs. And we were dancing in one evening.
Yes.
And then one gentleman, I think he was a vet doctor.
Yes.
He started dancing, flashing the two fingers as he was dancing.
Yes.
I understand the following day he had to be questioned about it.
And I'm told, yes.
Although he defended himself, he said that was my style of dancing.
Yes.
I unless you see me, you show me the photos or that was just a style. Dancing with his fingers.
Yes.
So it went to some comic levels.
Yes.
But we have come a long way.
Okay.
Kenya now is a free country.
Yeah, actually, people in the media sector like us here, sometimes I'm told you would be seated and the police would just be chatting around you, and they tell you, no problem. Nyinyi endeleeni tu, sisi tuna. You go on with your work and the police are just around and they're not arresting you. So it used to be very stifling, I'm told.
Well, you cannot have, you see, the advantages of freedom.
Right.
You can never underestimate them. And sometimes people have to appreciate. That's why I'm saying even the youth today.
Yeah.
That is one thing they have to appreciate, that they are growing up in a very free environment.
Yeah.
Where they have got access to information. You can also participate in politics of the country. You can garner for any political seat as long as you qualify. You are a Kenyan and you are qualified.
Yes.
Now we are a free country, and we must fight hard for that freedom. To be there, because that space for those of us who saw those retrogressive activities of yesteryears.
Yes.
We know what we say what we mean when we say that let us guard our freedom jealously, let vigilance be our day-to-day undertaking, so that nobody ever takes us back to those dark days.
So are there people you can attribute the names to, probably? Of course, Raila Odinga is one of them. It means these people paid their time. I mean, it's very sad, even as you're pointing out, what these people put in vis-a-vis the advantages that the youth are now taking in public participation, for example. It is in the new constitution. This thing used not to be there, where you're supposed to say what you want. Sometimes we see projects just happening, but nowadays there's public participation. You can say we don't want this project and the other. Are there names probably that you can bring in now?
I must say that we had gallant leaders who came out when it was extremely unheard of to face head on the government of the day. I remember it all started with people like Stanley Matiba, Charles Rubia.
Can't hear you.
It all started with
Stanley Matiba.
People like Stanley Matiba.
Oh, he paid a huge price for it.
Matiba, Rubia, even the old man of opposition politics, Jaramogi, because Jaramogi had been all along fighting for multi-party democracy. We had other people who are hardly spoken about, like Martin Shikuku, people like George Anyona, Mosetti. Yeah,
was he called George Mosetti, or I'm calling a football player?
No, his name was George Mosetti Anyona.
Okay.
Yes, that was his name. A bearded politician I think he was an MP for
Kitutu
somewhere.
Kitutu Masaba or Kitutu Chache, one of the Kitutu Masaba. Yeah.
We cannot forget those gallant.
Was Kibaki one of them? Was Raila one of them?
Well,
or
yes.
This is another generation?
No.
They were called young Turks at that time.
Even those young Turks included people like Raila Odinga, James Orengo, people like Gitobu
Imanyara, right?
We had quite a number. We had many who stood up at the time to fight for the freedom. And as you are aware, today we've got a whole Bill of Rights.
Yeah, that came from that.
And then you cannot forget also our former Chief Justice, Dr. William Mutunga.
Right.
He was one of them. Those people who fought, even the former governor of Makueni, Professor Kibwana. Those are the people. Were the people from the academic world who are there fighting.
Yeah. But now the question begs, Christopher.
Yes.
Was it really worth it? Now that we have this new constitution, is it really working? Are we still not in the same place? Are we not far much better? Or where do you rate this? Or is it that we are not taking advantage of this?
Jonah, let me tell you.
Right.
We cannot sit back and say we are not celebrating the gains made. Gains were made, and they are there. That is the reason you can see today we have got a whole progressive constitution, complete with a chapter on Bill of Rights. Rights for speech, rights. We've got a whole lot of, if you go to that chapter, you read all the rights that we are enjoying as a country. We cannot take it for granted.
Right.
The only thing that I must emphasize, because people sometimes would wonder, now that we got that new constitution, what are the benefits? Benefits cannot only be monetary, but coming to talk of monetary gains, we need, because
even though somebody told me that if you go to the towns right now, the different counties, it is a totally different picture from what was there before the new constitution. It's like money has found a way through this devolution, despite the massive devolution of corruption. At least you can find a road in Bungoma. You can find a road in Isiolo. The other day when the president was in Kericho, someone in the crowd shouted, "Airport!" because they also need an airport in Kericho. You promised the airport. And you know, he went again somewhere in Nyandarua, or was it wherever? And people seem to be, you know, campaigning for certain things in their counties. So it seems like, yeah, monetary, it worked.
Jonah,
yeah.
Speaking of devolution in this country, that is another whole big thing, a topic that can be discussed in a complete session. But in a nutshell, the Constitution envisaged that the people who would run counties could be responsible people, elected by the people. That is the reason why devolved funds, when they reach the counties, are supposed to go through public participation. First of all, you get views from the grassroots on the projects that are supposed to be implemented.
Yeah.
Then the budgets are supposed to be taken to the county assemblies of different projects to be approved by the assemblies and then implemented by the executives, who are the county governors and their governments.
Right.
Whether that one is done properly, that is another issue. But that is what the Constitution expected. Actually,
there is an example of what happens there, at least. I'm cutting you a lot, but we are in sync, we are in agreement. I can see you have a navy blue top and I have a navy blue trouser. By the way, that's a joke. Now, this is why I'm saying we are in sync here.
Yes,
we are in sync in the sense that when you go to a public participation forum now, there is always, should we construct a market, soko, or should we construct a stadium? Then it goes the ululation way, you know, the louder. As many as are of the soko say I, as many are of the kiwanja say nay, you know, and that is how projects are approved. Is it effective?
The
That
issue
begs
is,
the question.
Jonah, the system of approval is not an issue. The issue is the process of implementing projects, and even identifying some projects sometimes which can end up being questionable. For example, you've definitely heard of budgeted corruption.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have heard of that terminology.
Yeah. You could put a pen at 1,000.
No, not only that. Where you conceive a project knowing very well how you will end up siphoning some money from that project. At the time of conceiving it, you've already designed how you will end up making a cut from that project. That is, in a nutshell, what budgeted corruption is all about. And what am I saying? Well, I must say this. If the process of doing things is as it is in books, and if these projects were to be implemented clearly according to procedure, there should be no problem.
Anwai Guru says that this rate in the next 10 years, devolution will be dead because there is no timely disbursements of funds. So she claimed, as the leader, as the head of the Council of Governors, that slowly devolution is being killed but being denied timely disbursement of funds. As a matter of fact, Migori County, I'm just using it as an example, they had a CDF ceremony where they were supposed to disburse bursaries, but they had this meeting to tell the people we were not given money at all on time. Yes, there is money, but it has not reached us from the treasury. So this is the function we are having today. Poleni sana. Let's wait for another time. So these are some of the things that made Anwai Guru said somebody must be killing devolution. And she said, she placed a warning, give it 10 years, devolution will be no more. Do you share that?
Jonah, I will not comment about her prophecy. What I will comment about is what is there on the ground today as we speak. If there is money which has been set aside for development, for heaven's sake, why don't we see that money currently there, the development projects, completed, commissioned, helping the communities? Let's talk about what is there now. And the other thing, Jonah, I read in the press the other day, there is an issue about absorption of development funds. Why there should be an issue of absorption of development funds, I don't understand, because I believe there should be people keen enough to do planning in advance so that money for development goes to development. Because we can't have counties whose work is only to spend money for the current expenditure, salaries, stationaries, and the like.
Right.
Because we need these counties who are coming about so that the things that earlier could not be addressed during the centralized system can now be addressed because we have got governments closer to the people. Let me say that there are some things that have been done right by the counties. Like, for example, I know of a certain road somewhere in Kangundo constituency, which one time I remember I passed there many years ago in a small car, and I could not tell where to pass because there were rocks, big rocks on the road. And during this regime, this devolution time, the road has been done. Of course, whatever the standards that were done is not the issue. The issue is that the road is now passable, and I appreciate whenever I pass along that road.
Education. Is it a national function? Yes,
education
is a national function, right?
Whatever is devolved is the ECDs. ECDs
are
in education.
okay.
Those are devolved functions. Health is devolved.
Is devolved.
Yes.
The devolved functions, how do you rate it? Today, as we are talking, there is an announcement by KMPDU leading staff again from the national level. They are on strike. But the doctors in the counties are not on strike. So how do you rate this? Is it best, in your own opinion, when devolved or not devolved? And then there's been the cry, some sectors have been wanting to be taken back to national function. They feel like, there is a lot of negligence when it is it out of a frustration of funding, or what do you think?
Talking of a sector, I may not competently talk about the health sector, but in my layman's view, when I as a consumer of their services.
Can't hear you again. As we wind up.
I must say that the good practices in the health sector,
right,
that the professionals have been demanding for, the ones that even today have made them to go on strike.
Yeah.
I believe there should be a way
winding up in 1 minute.
A way of them communicating with the policy makers so that their grievances can be addressed.
We have a lot to say. Christopher NZAU, you can be sure we'll bring you again. We have a lot to talk. The youth and the economy, the youth, the purposes of the youth to guard and safeguard devolution and the gains of the fathers who fought for this new constitution. There is a role they need to play so that we don't lose what the likes of Raila Odinga, Martin Shikuku, you mentioned them, Jaramogi, and all Gitobu Imanyara, all these things, they spent a lot of time. Now that we have it here, are we taking advantage of it? This is a challenge to you now, this generation. 0111 980384. Tell us your views. Thank you, Christopher, for being with us today. See you next week. Hapa Science TV. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me, Jonah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is JONAH SIMBA. Thank you. Yes.